This game is really special. Like, I had no idea that Pragg has just played this insane attack. Now, this was played in the World Team Rapid Championships. It's come just after the World Cup, so quite a few of these guys are tired, but not Pragnananda. Now, let me show something to you straight off the bat. So if I go to 2700 chess here, this is filtered on the rapid ratings. It's the top 100, and at the top there you can see Pragg. He gained 48.4 points in one tournament playing rapid chess. You know, gained 30 places in the rankings list. Gukesh also 31. Good tournament for him. But he only gained, not even half of Pragg's points. Now that is just incredible. He's now nearly 2700 on the rapid ratings and should be higher really if he played more chess. Now this is just one example of what Pragg has been doing to people. This reminds me of his Immortal game that he played in the World Cup. I'll link that one at the end in case you haven't seen it. So Pragg with black, he goes for something a bit different out of the opening because his opponent here is Sebastian Siebrecht. He's a German grandmaster, but as you can see, he's quite a bit weaker. So Pragg's going for something a bit different out of the opening. He plays this b6 move, and we go down this kind of King's Indian structure, but black's put the bishop on b7. You often want it here to help with future attacks. So risky stuff by Pragg. White takes the centre, d6, bishop e2, castles, and now white thinks, okay, you're going to play like this against me? I'm a grandmaster, yo. Here we go, h4, I'm going to take you off the board, blow you away, and Pragg just carries on developing in the centre. Now d5 is played, kicking that knight, it jumps into b4, the queen moves away, and now knight back to a6. So heading for c5, white now preempts that move, and Pragg starts nibbling away at the white centre. And now here, when you run it with the engine, the computer wants to carry on with just some standard developing moves, gives white the edge. But white goes all in now with pawn h5, gives Pragg a pawn which he captures just to open the h-file. Certainly not a bad idea in rapid chess. Now you might think that this is the idea, but it wasn't played. Black should have enough here to actually defend. You can open up here with pawn f5, preparing queen e8, and yeah, black's a bit better. White has an attack, but shouldn't be enough. So we don't see the exchange sack. We see g4, the knight's driven back, now g5 does block this bishop, which isn't ideal, but it kicks around this knight, and again when you run with the engine, it wants to come to g4 or d7, look to then manoeuvre into e5. But Pragg goes here, and this is a really risky move, because white moves away the knight, opens the bishop to attack that one, and Pragg just carries on calmly, takes in the centre, the bishop takes, shattering the structure. You're going to gain access to f5 for the knight, the queen can transfer over. This looks really, really dangerous, but what does Pragg do? He doesn't even take the bishop, he just takes the pawn in the centre. He allows white to retreat this bishop if they want to do so, but it isn't played. Now bishop e2 is actually the top engine move, and I find this whole line just crazy, because what's the follow-up for black? Well, you might think it's some kind of knockout blow, but it's actually not. So black here has got 3 pawns for the piece. That's something to remember. Now you don't do something like this to, open up the bishop, because white can actually go f3, for example, doing fine. Equally, you don't go for, what else was I looking at? No, I can't remember. But you don't go for any knockout. So knight b4 is how you start. The queen drops back, and now rook c8. Just a calm, slow move, right? And say white castles, looks really natural. Well, there's all these different lines you can go down. It's an absolute maze. But this is one of the top computer ones. And I was thinking, what? You give up the dark squared bishop. You then give up a pawn. How can this be any good? Well, queen d7. And apparently the threats to come in here are just too much. If you go queen g3, cover the square, then there's rook c4 threatening to come in here, and so on and so on and so on. And if instead you do something like f3, well, now the queen invades, looking to come here, attacking the knight, The lines just go on and on and on, but apparently black has enough compensation with the 3 pawns and the slightly exposed white king. So instead of retreating the bishop, white takes on e4. Now we see knight b4, queen e2, and d5 from Pragg, blowing open the centre and his bishop some more. This one's now attacked, and white decides to counter-attack. Pragg retreats his knight. We see knight g3, white saves theirs. Now knight d4 comes with tempo, queen d1, and still we don't see this bishop captured. Pragg just takes on c4. I mean, this is truly incredible chess. What a feeling for the attack that this young man has. Now again, if you retreat the bishop, not played, well, now you can take on h1. This one recaptures, but again, why is this good for black? Well, it's just this slow motion death. This is what I find amazing about this game. You can attack the knight, knight g3, centralize the rook, bishop e3, and now just nudge back the queen. You know, no kind of heroic knockout blow. Open up the rook. There's a threat to kind of move the knight away. Discovered check. So the queen moves, the knight takes, and the rook just invades, and everything's getting slowly paralyzed. Queen c2, queen g4 check. The knight comes back. Okay, now let's start opening the f-file. The knight room maneuvers to defend the other one. And the lines just go on and on and on. b5, you know, sadistic. Hold this pawn, slowly bring in more pieces. And I'll pause it there. You know, the computer says -8 to black here. Black is winning. But just the most amazing lines that you don't even have a knockout blow. You just slowly squeeze white. Anyway, so the bishop still didn't retreat. Castles was played. Now this one was eventually taken. Optimal timing. The queen recaptures and queen d5. Centralizing. Looking down here. At the moment the knights cover the squares. f4 played. Looking to give the king some room. The rook some room. f5 looks a bit nasty. Pragg plays e6, excellent move, and after bishop e3, he re-maneuvers this knight into f5, adding some defense around the king, and after white takes here, we'll now look at the access that Pragg's just gained. Bang, he checks down on the back rank. The king goes, check. King moves once again, and only now does he capture the knight, and you can't even play knight takes or you lose your queen here. Big problems for white. So we see a mistake now played, but it's just so hard to make a good move. If you move the queen away back to e2, well, you drop the knight with check. If you try and bring this rook into the game, you know, lift it here maybe, well, rook fe8, your bishop's just literally dropping off the board. If you come back with the queen, again, the knight drops. Just so many problems. White can't actually unravel. Again, it's -8 to black here. So we see rook f2 played, trying to get rid of the queen, but queen g1 check. And now if you block back with the rook, well, you lose the bishop here with check. So instead, the king steps up, but now simply the rook drops, and not only that, but the queen is taking here with check, adding support to the defense of the bishop if needed, plus the rooks are coming, you've got the bishops in the attack, it's game over, black is a whole rook up, and you're not even getting checkmated, so we see resignation in this position. One absolutely fantastic game by Pragg. Now, if you want to see another of his incredible attacks, do see the video on screen, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Really helps me out, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks very much for watching.